I'm Christian Abbott.
I'm Nathan Lavender.
I'm Sean Abbott.
And this is the Red Mist Podcast.
And we're back.
We're back.
Episode 3 of the Red Mist Podcast. And thanks to hopefully you enjoyed our snazzy new opening music.
Yeah. Thanks to Alex Zwart. Went to high school with him and asked him if he would help us out with an intro, and what he came up with was great.
Great, and we'll probably use it as an outro too until we get Alex to be a little more creative on an outro too.
Oh, well, I didn't ask him to do an outro.
Yeah, well, we can.
We can. Yeah. If we
but
want
anyways,
an outro,
but big thanks to Alex, and I think he had some help from a friend of his as well in Nashville.
Yeah,
so.
Harrison. I don't remember his last name, but
we'll get you full props.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Appreciate you guys, and checks in the mail.
Yep.
Or
already is.
payments in Venmo. Anyways, so we're back. Nate's on assignment tonight, so he will not be joining us for this episode. Apologize for the lapse in between. We had a little technical difficulty.
Yeah.
So we're working on getting that straightened out.
The last time we had a podcast was before
Imola,
which was about 3-4 weeks ago. So
right.
we're kind of behind on this.
I think that was right after our karting practice, opening practice.
I think it was after
Okay.
our preseason test.
And so we're going to move right into this past weekend with race 1 of the NHKA season at Canaan Motorsports Club.
Yes. Big opening week, 130 to 40 entries.
That's correct, yes.
In total.
Yeah.
But then they all split up into groups. We
Different
had
classes.
We had eight groups, 3 of which were 206 groups that were split up because there was a big field in each one of those. So there was
very popular class.
206 junior, senior, master, and cadet.
That's right.
Yes. So 4 classes.
Actually. 4 classes.
And then the other classes that we had were kid karts that ran in the morning. And then there was the World Formula Group, both light and heavy combined, which that race was.
We'll talk to about that.
That was a crazy one, as usual. A lot of hooligan-ness. And then there was tag junior, and then there was tag senior and masters combined. The tag senior and masters were a combined group. The junior was a standalone group.
That's right.
And then shifters,
right. So before we start, we just want to give a big, shout out to the NHKA folks and the volunteers that put the weekend on for us. It was a one-day event on Saturday. Came off without a hitch, but a lot of pre-race planning went into it. Folks from NHKA getting there on Thursday afternoon, working on Friday with some volunteers to get the track set up. And then we had some volunteer flag workers and corner workers along with some folks that were helping with timing and scoring. So appreciate that, and also the safety folks from the local ambulance company that were there. So again, pretty much appreciate everyone there and the folks at Canaan Motorsports Club for hosting everybody.
Yeah. Without them, couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. So let's start with the road tax, 2-stroke racing. We had 2 practice sessions in the morning, followed by a qualifying session. The practice sessions were 10 minutes each. Quali was 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. So why don't we start there? Go.
All right. Well, first practice was more or less getting the bearings back together. Haven't driven road tax in over 2.5 years, or over 2 years. So just trying to get back up to speed and getting back familiar with how the kart handles and and remembering how the track goes as well. First practice, just feeling stuff out. Second practice, made a change or two going in there. Just trying to get the gearing right and feeling that out.
And the jet change.
Yep, and a jet change in the carb. And then thought that the jet change was too lean, but just found out I ran out of fuel. Didn't put enough fuel in, so that was good lesson learned.
It's on the mechanic
because the two-stroke definitely takes up more fuel than the four-stroke. Right. So got a different fuel mileage there. Other than that, I was pretty much. I think I was a second off the pace of the leaders by the first practice. Then by the end of qualifying, I was 0.6, I think. And then at the end of the race, I didn't even go back and look at my time, so I'm not even sure how close I actually was to the leaders. But I think those results will be posted.
But later, you had it was a good dice. There were we had 3 carts. We had 3. What did you finish?
So I finished 5th in class.
5th in class.
7th
overall.
Yes.
Okay. Because there was, Alex Gomes and Ricardo Nunez and Mark Donato kind of broke away.
Yeah, that was
it's kind of they were kind of the hot 3.
And then there was
and Ricardo was running in the Masters class, so he's running with more weight than either Alex or Mark.
Yeah.
But they had a really good scrap going on. There was what do we have? We had another card in there.
I can't remember.
Unfortunately, I think he's new since we ran. So, but anyways, he was kind of like in no man's land. He was in between you, Hugo, Hugh. Hugo.
Hugh and Hugo.
Yeah. And so the 3 of you were kind of battling it out. I mean, you and Hugh were battling out for the Road Tax Senior class, and Tag Senior, and Hugo was in Tag Masters, but I think he was just happy to be racing with somebody.
Yeah, I mean, he got out of the car at the end of the race and had a huge smile on his face. So,
but it was a great dice with you, great dice up front. Alex was putting the pressure on Ricardo. Mark seemed to kind of just fade just a tad, just couldn't. I don't think get to Alex. There was one instance when he did, but in reading Alex's little race wrap up, it sounded like Alex was able to fend him off, and I think he kind of just broke away enough to not worry about that. But he tried a couple times on Ricardo, but I think he said he could have taken him one. He had one shot, and it got sketchy, so he didn't take it. So live to fight another day. But look, he was fighting. He got first in class. That's all that matters. First overall isn't a hill of beans.
No.
There's no overall trophy. So got a first. So good outing for Alex. And then we had like I said, Mark and driver X. Apologize if we don't remember your name. And we'll get you right the next time. So that overall was a good weekend with the tag and the road tax. There were a couple little niggly things that came up. We've made a couple adjustments already on Sunday after we got back on Saturday. So we think we're ready to go. We got a couple things we're going to work on between now and our next race in 3 weeks, 2 weeks. June 4th?
June 4th.
June 4th, so, and it's back at Canaan on the short course again.
Yeah.
So we at least have a notebook for that, so we'll look into improve.
Well, they say the short course. Now, I don't know what direction we're going or what side we're on, because they could flip it and we were on they call it the left side of the track. We could do the right side of the track because they've done that before in the past.
That's sketchy.
I don't know if they're going to do that, but they might.
That's sketchy. If that into the short, like you go down the straight and into the first corner.
So what they did was, how we pull off into the pits.
Yeah.
So that would be we'd go into that little cross section there.
That's still sketchy. Wow. I haven't seen that before. But anyways, we'll see.
Yeah.
Anyways, woof. So hopefully, we got, like I said, I think we got a good starting point on the car. We got now at least we got the major prep work done on it. Made one significant change, and then we got a couple of the little changes that we're going to make. So, and we're going to go from there.
Yeah. I do have to say that the battle that I had with Hugh was super fun.
Yeah.
And I think both of us were probably excited. Just
it was awesome.
There.
It was like it was like
we were
back
just going
and forth.
Back and forth. I was definitely set up for the tight and twisty section, and he was definitely set up for the top end. We would go halfway around the track, swapping positions twice.
Yeah.
So
it was kind of every lap was like rinse and repeat. And then Hugo got kind of involved in it, so it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But it was great having a third kart. So and he was just as quick as you guys.
Yeah.
So props to him. So that like I said, great race. Good start to the season. I think anywhere but up. We didn't DNF, so that was good. And
we were
top 5 was good in class.
Top 5 in the field, so can't complain about that.
So we'll move on. All right, let's move on to World Formula 4-stroke.
Yes.
All right.
So first practice started out completely fine until after I took the checkered flag. I guess the cap for the battery decided to pop off because when I came around the penultimate turn is a left-hand hairpin. So when I came through there, I heard some scraping on the right side, plastic. But I figured that the sound that it was making sounded like the side pod, which typically, if you go through a corner hard enough, you can hear the side pod touch sometimes.
Right.
So that's all I thought it was. But no, then I come around into turn 1 and the rear end completely slides out from underneath me, and then I go into the gravel or into the grass, and then I get up, look around, and am just trying to pull the cart away from the track because I'm trying to get away from everyone else before I get yelled at by.
This is after we taken the
this is so we came around the penultimate corner, heard it, and then I went past the checkered flag for the finish of practice 1, and then go into turn 1, and then that's when the rear end comes out from underneath me.
And just so everyone knows, like in the World Formula class, with the Briggs motor, the motors do have starters on them, electric starters you can start with a battery, or you can pull start it.
Yeah.
And we've been trying to move away from the pull start because
we just want to be more lazy.
Yeah, more lazy, but also I think we've also discovered that since we hitched this up, that it fires up the first time all the time. So much easier and much less stress.
Yeah.
So, it worked until the battery casing came off, and we traced that back to the rear bolt screw possibly not being.
No, it was the foam. It was the foam. The way the cap sits on it. There's a bolt in the back.
I thought the bolt backed out.
But then there's two. The way the crate comes, the aluminum crate comes out and then fits into the top of it and pins itself in there. Definitely came loose in there because coming through that left hand hairpin, everything bounces around a little bit more when you go up on that curb. So
we kind of at that point disconnected the batteries, the electric start, just because we just didn't want to have it come off during the race.
Deal with it,
So kind of went safe on that route, but it's got some backyard engineering and we got it straightened out for the next race. So we'll bring it back. But the funny part with that whole thing was when you went by the start-finish line, I gave you a thumbs up and you gave me a thumbs up, and then I walked away, and I'm like waiting for you to come in, and I'm like, where the heck? Like, did I miss him or something? And I was like, oh no, did it break down? And then all of a sudden here he comes trotting around, and then it was like, tell me the whole story, but minor. Anyways, got it cleaned up, got some of the fine New Hampshire agriculture out of the cart, and off we went.
Yeah, I think I took out some people's braking markers.
I think so. That's possibly true. And then practice 2?
Practice 2 went smooth.
Uneventful.
Nothing happened. Just
did we make the gear change then, or do we?
No, we didn't make a gear change at all.
We didn't make a gear change. Okay.
No.
So
that was ultimately that was the lack of pace during the race.
Right.
And then qualifying didn't just because of practice 1 and 2 being combined, both light and heavyweight.
Yeah, there's a lot of traffic.
And then I was pretty much passing I wasn't really getting passed at all.
No.
So then the only time I ran with the front runners who were in the race was during the race.
Right.
And the one person that I ran with was Rodrigo in the first practice, and I was pretty much holding pace with him there. So I really didn't have any reason to make a change because I also didn't really know where I stood.
Yeah.
Or where anyone else stood.
Yeah.
Because if I was holding pace with him, then I was probably going to be towards the front because that's generally where he is too. So then qualifying came and I was half a second, something like that, off the leaders.
And we were kind of buried in traffic. I think one of the things we got to pay attention to is what lanes go first, so then they alternate.
I think it's a crapshoot because regardless,
really?
because I think they switch every single time that I went out there.
They alternated. They alternated lanes.
We have to watch and see how they pick it.
I think that's
because
what we do.
If they alternate, then fine. Then you know which lane will go out.
That's what I noticed.
But if it's just at random,
I noticed they were alternating.
Yeah.
So whatever.
So then, so the way they send everyone out for qualifying is we grid up in 2 lanes, and then because pit exit is kind of narrow, what they do just to make sure nobody's gonna have an accident as they come out of the pits is just send 1 lane at a time. So either the left lane or the right lane will go, and then after that lane goes, the other one will go.
Yeah.
Which fine, you know what? It gets everyone out, and you don't have to worry about it. But you do, if you are first in the lane that goes second, your rush to get up to the front is completely pointless. So unless you're the first one in line and gone out.
The hard thing is at that point is trying to pick someone you can use as a kind of a little bit of a drafting partner on the track.
Right.
There's a few there's just like
finding clean space for a good lap is hard.
Yeah.
And when you do get the clean space, you have to be on it for that one lap.
Right. So anyways, that was
So
qualifying, but we didn't really know where we stood, and then we saw it, and honestly, I was like,
we started 8th overall.
8th overall
out of 20.
Yeah, it was 20 something. I forget what.
But
the interesting thing was that I thought was the in looking at it, I'm going, okay, great. There's a pretty good spread in the qualifying, in the differential between 1st and 8th, and so forth. And you were kind of concerned about it, but the thing is, in the 4-stroke class or in the World Formula class, no one's going to break away. All right.
No.
On this particular configuration or at Loudon, no one's going to break away, unless there's some kerfuffle, right behind the leader. Then they're going to break away. So in looking at it, I know you were a little bit concerned of the time differential.
Yeah.
But then we kind of came to the rationale that in this class, it's how you race, not how you qualify.
Yeah. So ultimately, with the amount of traffic, I figured my thought process was have a gear that could help pull and pass people out of corners, because then ultimately top speed, there's one spot for it, but if you're quick enough coming out of the corner, then they'll just catch you a little bit, and you'll still be able to hang around the outside. Yeah. For majority of the field, that worked, but to get that win, I think I was a little too short on gearing towards the end of the race. But race started. So I started in 8th. Green flag comes out.
No.
Oh no! Right, we had a yellow the first time around, so we had to go one more time.
Cart in front of you. Oops, sorry, I was away from the mic. Cart in front of you, having a mechanical issue, spewing oil all over.
Yeah,
was he in front of you or to the side of you?
He was to the right of me. He was in 7th.
Man, so, that thing was spewing like a.
Yeah, I looked over and I saw the smoke, and I was like, well, either 1, motor's gone, or 2, something on the back on the exhaust was burning.
But
one of the 2.
Turns out he was blowing oil, and he fortunately
everyone was pointing at and letting him know, and then he eventually looked over and then pulled off.
Was that? I think it was
Nick.
Nick, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was Nick. So he ended up pulling over, or if it was Nick, and I'm sorry if it wasn't you. But pulled over, got out of the way.
Yeah.
It was fine. So then, so that got waved off, and then
so we take the green the first time.
Needless to say, so then we come down and it's restart number 2.
Yeah. And then
off you went.
Off we went when everyone was still kind of, well, actually, I shouldn't say. We get to the green flag, brake check. And then we go.
That's classic, yeah.
Yeah,
the brake checking, because...
Well, actually, to be fair, because the officials, or all of the track guys, were trying to tell us to slow down. When, I don't know if this was just me, if they didn't like how fast our pace was, I thought everyone was lined up.
Everyone was lined up.
Okay, so then it felt like that they were just trying to slow everyone down really much, and I was like, there's nothing out of control about this start.
My feeling is, and this is just me, I can't speak for that because I'm not the race director, but if the field is lined up in an orderly fashion, regardless of the pace, and everyone comes through, there's going to be a bit of a lag in some of the people coming through there.
Correct.
But 90% of the field was lined up. Okay.
Right.
The last 2 rows, unfortunately, due to the class size and the configuration, it's never going to work. No. It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So they should have, they were kind of all over the place. But anyways, so off you guys went. And it was amazing, though. It was a clean start into corner 1.
Yeah, it was. I even went 3 wide.
Yeah,
I still made it through clean.
And it was like, even, folks in the back, and, it was, everyone was minding their, being a good boy.
Yep. And then we got to the first braking, or then we got to the
far
end of the
into
back
the stretch,
into the braking zone, and
chaos
right in front of me. Yep. One cart goes up on top of another one. So I say thank you very much and move on.
And for those of you on the NHK Facebook page, Brett Repke shared that video. It was some amazing footage.
I'll be sharing mine in a little bit too.
Yeah, Christian was the cart right in front of Brett. But Brett with some fine camera work there. Actually, as they say, being in the right spot at the right time, catch it. But that was wild.
Yeah. Well, and then not to mention, now we go a couple corners later.
And it was some shenanigans going on with that crash. There was shenanigans going on with that front group.
Yeah, this is where my attention gets diverted because I'm in wreck avoidance. So I don't know what. Then there's the 6 that are in front of. No. The 5.
Yeah.
So, no. It was 6 because I got passed by someone else on the start.
This is not uncommon in the World Formula class in NHKA. Race director Mike Camara ventures onto the track from the side with the erstwhile black flag, and he points out 2 individuals. I think one was Kyle. And the other was Rodrigo. I'm not 100%.
Whoever
I'm not
was
100% certain, but he was pointing
of the top 4. He was pointing at someone.
He was pointing at 2. He pointed at 2, and I thought it was Kyle because Ryan was on the inside, and Kyle was on the outside. And I thought he was pointing at Kyle. I'm not 100% certain.
Yeah, I'd have to go back to the.
And I thought he was pointing at Rodrigo. And the reason I say that is Rodrigo's got a red suit, and it was just like he was going when he was saying it. So immediately, everybody, that group, for some bizarro reason,
right? So I come around out of the last corner, full throttle, and I come to the pack of them, and they're all getting waved the rolled up black flag, and they all look at each other and look at Mike and slow down in the middle of the start finish straight.
Bad idea,
right? I'm like, regardless of what flag you get. Yep. You keep going. Because if you're going to get a flag and you're unsure about it, you go by the second time. And if it's still coming at you, then you know to get off.
So while they lifted,
I kept my foot planted because it was a black flag, not a yellow flag.
Right.
So I went right from 6th to 1st.
6th to 1st. It was. I was like, oh, that just happened. And so it was Will Zuba. Is it Zuba? What's Will's?
Oh, I'm gonna butcher it.
Met his dad after the race. Tom Zuba.
I think it's DeZuba, because it's with a D.
Yeah. All right. Apologies to the Zuba family.
You guys can butcher our last name.
Great folks. It's all right.
But yeah.
Yep. Will made a great move to go around that because he saw what you were doing. And then Brett tried to toss it in there.
He almost got there. Yeah,
Brett tried to toss it in, but by then Ryan had kind of realized what was going on, and he went. So it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
And then so that eventually settled out. Ryan was actually able to run you down.
Yeah, so I got passed by.
It took like 2 laps for Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan passed me. Kyle passed me.
The kid. He's the guy that the chain threw. He threw the chain.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Can't remember.
I didn't remember his
But
numbers,
he
so
was
I couldn't
quick.
look him up.
He was quick too. So he and Ryan kind of established. They got by Kyle and they kind of established first and second.
Yeah. So then I was
race kind of settled down at that point.
Yeah. So then I was in 4th at that time.
Yeah.
And then we go past halfway, and then a lap or two after. The race is 20 laps.
Right.
So we're now between 10 and 15 laps to go.
Yeah.
And the kid who was in second,
Mr. X, driver X.
Sorry. Threw a chain right in front of me, going into turn. I call it turn 3 because technically after turn 1 there's a slight left bend.
Yeah, that horseshoe.
Right? So then
the
you
horseshoe out back where it brings it back.
It's a 180 right.
But a lot of action happened when that chain went off.
Yeah,
because
when he threw his chain, like 50 feet in front of him, Ryan got taken out.
He got taken out by a back marker.
So I go through the corner, see driver X throw the chain, and Ryan turn around the other way, and I'm like, oh, this is nice. Now I'm in second.
Right.
So, and by this, I got passed because I did not have the correct gear ratio compared to these guys.
Right.
Because they all passed me on the straight.
Yeah.
Or on the back straight. Yeah. So it was clear that I didn't have the top speed, which was fine with me. I just had to make it up in a different way.
Which was in the tight, twisty parts.
Right, which was fine.
Big time.
And then, so that happens. And then after that, there's a lull for like a lap or two. And I look behind me, and all I see is silver.
And that's Will.
And that's Will. So I'm like, all right, well, we'll see how long he stays behind. He stays behind me, and sure enough, within the next lap, he gets me on the next back straight. Yeah. So fair enough. But when I saw him go by, and I knew it was him, I was like, all right, well, I'll let him go catch Kyle, because at that point Kyle was pretty far ahead of me that I couldn't catch him purely on pace because he had the gearing that could carry him away. So I let Will go try and catch up to him, and then eventually with 3 laps to go, they're battling it out. Plus lap traffic comes into play, so I make up time, and then I'm on. It comes down to. Oh, I forgot about this. Yeah, so the last lap,
right?
They go slow coming out of the last corner. I try and pass both of them.
Didn't you throw it down the inside on the second to last corner on Will?
So this is the last lap.
Yeah.
So the last lap, they try and go at it. I go down the inside of both of them.
Yeah.
Kyle cuts back underneath me, gets me going into 3, the right-hander on the back there, and then I try and stay around the outside, and then he goes wide a little bit, so I have to go wide a little bit as well, and then that's when Will cuts under both of us.
Right.
And then Kyle sends it back on him.
Yeah.
So then we go down the back straight or
into the twisties.
Back straight. I call it a straight, but it's a curve and with a little bit of downhill into the back.
The twisty section.
Yeah, with the right-hander. Kyle goes down the inside there. So then now I'm sucked up behind both of them because I didn't have the gearing to catch him on top speed. So fine. So then now I'm waiting for Will to pass Kyle.
Right.
Going through this tight left-hander. And because I figured if he's going to have any shot, he'd have to make the move there because he's not going to out-drag him. He didn't, so that's when because I positioned myself such that if he did make it, I could back out of it.
Right.
But if he didn't, I could go for it.
Right. So yeah.
I took the opportunity and went for it.
No contact.
All fair, all clean racing, and that was great. And then I even gave Will room on the inside to
did.
come back to me
Yeah.
to make sure, because I didn't want him to be run off the road either. But I also knew even if I did give that, I had the gearing to pull him out of the corner, so I wasn't really worried even if I did give him that space. So then it was drag race to the line. Kyle won, and then I just beat Will. Yeah, to the line there.
Yeah, I think in that case it was he didn't close the door to cover.
No,
which he should have. If he had gone in, like if he was trying to think that was how he's going to get Kyle.
Right.
I don't. I mean, you're trying not to wreck your car because it's just more work.
Yeah, no.
So, but he didn't make that move, but he left the door open a bit, and you took it.
Yeah.
And fortunately, there was enough room there, and that corner, I wouldn't have probably done it. Well, last lap in a row in the tag class maybe, but it's a little rough to do that.
Yeah, it's really that this twisty section it's
tight and quick.
It's tight, quick. It's a right, left, right up a hill.
So it's falling. So essentially, the corner's falling away from you
a little bit, yeah. And then you come to the top, and then it's hard left. And meanwhile, this track is only barely wide enough for two.
Yeah.
So it's and Canaan is a club track. So when you get onto the main track, because this tight twisty section is basically a cutover from one end to the other.
It's used for motorcycles. It's used for the rally guys.
Yep. Guys
from Vermont Sports Car who run the Subaru rally cars come down and test there quite a bit.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, they actually do?
Yeah, they actually do. Okay. That's that dirt piece that we were talking about. They test there. But if you watch a lot of video from them.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, if you watch that, their show Launch Control, there's a bunch of times they're down there. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, so it was pretty cool. Obviously, I think you're right. Having the... by not having the right gear, you essentially were able to get second place because we defaulted to take pull versus top end speed, right?
Yes, acceleration over
top end speed. So
if this race was straightforward with minimal traffic, I definitely top speed would have won out in traditional with all that craziness out of there. I definitely wouldn't have finished second.
Perhaps with a little bit better breaks with the traffic, Will probably could have pulled ahead of you and been ahead. It would have been more Will and Kyle's show.
Because I could have easily fallen back at any point if I didn't go for any of the moves that I did.
Anyways, that was good race. I have no idea who won the World Formula Heavy. No, Brett did.
I think,
Brett did because we saw him in tech.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Brett, yeah, that's right. Brett Repke won. Sorry.
Yeah.
That was good. So like I said, I think we're off to a good start, and
both classes.
The tag class, I think it's gonna be a work in progress this season. Just kind of rebuilding driver conditioning and us tuning the cart. So a couple things to work on, and we'll see where we go.
Yeah.
All right, that was a good recap of that. And I don't think since we last kind of chatted with everybody, we had Imola on the F1 side.
Yeah.
Great job by Max.
Yeah.
And the Red Bull guys to rebound. Lando got third.
Yes, Lando got third. Checo got second.
Checo got second? Yes, he did. He did. Yeah. That's right, because Leclerc, right. Leclerc, yes. I keep forgetting Charles.
This is where
Ferrari stumbled over themselves. Yeah. It was great. I like Imola. I know people don't. I like it. I thought, the weather was a little bit kind of a predictor in it, but the sprint race was good. But I like that track. So,
it was a great race on a traditional track, and you can't expect much more overtaking.
Right. And you can't, you know what? You don't pay attention. It happened to Leclerc.
Yeah.
Again, I like that track, and I like to see it on there. So keep it on there.
And then the other big story after the race was DRS didn't get turned on.
Yeah.
Didn't get activated soon enough.
Yeah, soon enough.
This raises the question again of why do we have DRS in the first place?
Because honestly, I didn't think the race suffered.
No, and that's what I think a lot of people miss, because you sit there and you're like, oh well, DRS would have allowed for a lot more overtakes. I think if DRS got activated sooner, a lot of the overtakes that were trying to happen would have definitely happened, but then the racing would have then became very processional.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm not like I said, I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not a big fan of push to pass in IndyCar. I don't like gimmicks. I'd rather see driver talent outweigh, a gimmick to get the car down there. I get it. The cars can't run behind one another, but you know what?
Well,
make the cars less aero dependent.
Well, and this is what this race kind of showed, because I heard Ross Brawn talk about it afterwards, and he said the whole idea of DRS when it first came about was to get passing to happen again, right? Because the cars would get so spread out and you couldn't follow, so it was a chance to get back and have some overtaking. It's not a long-term solution. It's supposed to be short-term to fix a problem, which then turned into they didn't really try and fix it, because the next rule overhaul didn't really help that at all.
Yeah.
And then actually, I shouldn't say that. The next two
rules for the cars
went one from V8s to V6s.
Yeah.
And then some aerodynamic changes there. The second rule change was make the cars wider with more aero over the top, and that didn't really help. That's not really helping the DRS case to begin with.
This is kind of where I go with Formula One. I'm going to kind of date myself back into the 70s and 80s, but and even into the 90s. But what made Formula One great back then was you had V12s, V10s, V8s, and then you had the turbo era. All right, and they still had the turbos against the non-turbo cars. But you know what? The cars were able to pass one another. You know, and it was like, how do you do it? Well, I got a V8, so I'm gonna, I need to be a little bit more aero, dependent, or fuel, but fuel efficiency came into it a little bit because you weren't running a big V12.
Correct.
Ferrari was running V12s. I mean, so. My thing is, let's go back to open engines, and but we all have to be, Anyways, I don't want to go on a diatribe. I mean, they all have to be these hybrid motors, and I think that's part of. I think it's a combination of the hybrid and the aerodynamics and the DRS. They kind of negate each other.
I think it's the complexity of the engines that are causing the biggest thing, because with this year's aero package. What they have done is try to solve some of that following concern, which they've done, and honestly, it has made the racing much better, because you're now putting a lot more strain on the drivers to actually put their talent out there, and we're seeing this with the way that the tires heat up coming out of a pit stop where they're brick cold, and you're actually seeing the undercut work much more efficient than the overcut to some degree. And then they're able to follow each other much more closely too. It's definitely easier to follow. It's not perfect because it's the first year at it, but if the car, and my opinion is, I think the cars need to get smaller again. But that's
but anyways,
we're not trying to rewrite the rules. But
all right.
But if you're gonna have DRS come out of it, you definitely need to do more of the ground effects, get the air underneath the car to suck them down, and you're going to have to narrow the cars a bit to just allow for passing even at tracks like Monaco. Not that you're going to get a ton of passing at Monaco to begin with, because there's never ever really any passes that happen there, but if you can even get a couple just by having a smaller car. I mean, even watching the historics racing at Monaco this weekend, you can see how much smaller they are.
Yeah, they are.
Or how much smaller they used to be. And it's like, even if you had something that small, you would definitely have more passing at a track like Monaco. And you could have a resurgence.
Absolutely agree. Yeah. The cars are too long.
Overall, just too big.
So, anyways, the DRS. Look, to all the pundits out there, we had to listen to it on the broadcast, and then some of the F1 podcasts with the whiny people. Look, if they had it open at that time, there was one line, and it was like, what are you going to do? Go in the wet, and then we're going to have an accident. We're going to have Russell versus Bottas again. And I think that's, you know what? At the end of the day, it was a fairly safe race. No one got hurt, and I think these guys need to just get over it and stop their whining. And it's not going to help Lewis win. So, anyways, moving on. Miami. I'm just going to say this: overhyped,
as usual,
shambolic in terms of just. I don't really need to see celebrities at a car race. They have no clue what's going on, so we can do away with that. The race itself, outside Max made a great move to get around Leclerc, and honestly, it was lights out from then on. I know Leclerc came on at the end of the race, but I think Max, when he's driving, I think he knows when the tires need to be kind of babied. And I think he knows how to save the car. And I think he was saving when Leclerc was attacking.
Well, I think the past couple of years have definitely helped him. Yeah. Just running at the front there and having those situational moments. I mean, because you could even see that switch in, I don't know, what was it, 19 or 20?
Yeah.
Not when he won it last year, but when they were just sitting, when he would sit there and tell his engineers, like, is there anything we can do to just throw anything at this?
Yeah.
Because running around just to run is boring.
Right.
Because what are you going to do? If we throw the change at it, worst case, they'd stay where they are. Or if you don't, you're still going to stay where you are. But at least you could take a chance at it.
Right.
Whereas this now, it's you come in with all of that strategy experience of what to do, what not to do. Yeah, you're learning a new tire and all that. But you can definitely see the experience is paying off.
Yeah.
Now, whether Ferrari can upgrade the car and get it past the Red Bull, we'll see.
But again, I think we had Sergio finish third.
No, Carlos
finished third.
Because Sergio made the dive bomb move.
Oh yeah,
there, which spectacular.
Fine. Yeah,
but definitely late and cutting it close.
So hats off to both for Red Bull and Ferrari. They were on point the whole weekend. Mercedes, I don't know what was going on with them. They came out of the box fast, and then George did a nice job. I think he was P1, P2 in practice 2, and then from then on, it was like the porpoising came back, and I have no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what happened there. I don't know if they were trying to do something, but anyways, didn't work out. Other than that, the rest of the race was just, it was uneventful. I mean, Lando got into it with Gasly. Not sure what went
just
on
a
there.
Racing
I would say racing
I
incident
wouldn't
there.
put much to it.
It
wasn't because even if you watch the onboard of Gasly, it wasn't like he was intentionally trying to get it.
I think this weekend we go back to Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go Max. I just think he's on a roll. I think he's on a roll.
Mm-hmm.
I just think he's on a roll. I don't know. And the question is whether or not Ferrari will bring anything to Barcelona, but not 100% certain. So,
well, I'm going to be rooting for Sainz this weekend.
Yeah, Carlos.
Home race, and he had a good turnaround in Miami.
I would go like this. If it was Sainz Alonso or Alonso Sainz 1-2, man, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Place will burn.
Yeah.
It'd be awesome. I love it. Those two guys are characters, but
Yeah.
they're both, I love them both because they put their hearts on their sleeves, and they're both gentlemen outside the car, but they are just, I love them both. So that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I think Sainz will win, and then I think either Max or, depending on how Red Bull shows up to the track. I think if Ferrari dominates, it's probably going to be. I would say Sainz takes this one, and then Charles, but then Max and Sergio will probably fight over third as usual. Unless anything can happen. I haven't seen the weather update, so I don't know what that's going to be like.
So we'll see what happens. All right. So why don't we think about wrapping this up for this week's episode? Just a quick shout out to Colton Herter for one of the craziest drives I've ever seen in IndyCar. Took a pretty ballsy strategy on the third lap and demonstrated clearly why he's one of the better drivers out there, and dominated the race. take the win at the Indy Grand Prix on the road course. And then, shout out to the folks at Wayne Taylor Racing for taking the Mid-Ohio race in the DPI class. And then in GTD, it was the folks from Turner Motorsports with the win when the McLaren mysteriously and miraculously was underweighed. And after having run a fuel strategy, which everyone was like, there is no way you could run it, and raised suspicions at the end of the race, and therefore underweight. And guess what? DQ'd. And then in LMP3, we had the fine folks at Core Autosports, Colin Brown and John Bennett with the win. So that was pretty good, and that was a pretty hard-fought victory there. So again, tight racing in that class. So anyways, I think at this point we'll wrap it up. Nate will hopefully be back from his assignment, and we'll get him back in on the next podcast. Yeah. So for the Red Mist podcast, I'm Sean Abbott.
I'm Christian Abbott.
And we'll talk to you soon.